Hello, today I'd like to talk with you about religious development throughout the lifespan. I'd like to begin by sharing with you some touching letters to God written by children. These letters come from the book Dear God, Children's Letters to God by Heller, Heller. Mark, age 11, says, Dear God, why did you give Jesus such a hard time? My dad is rough on me too, so I know what it's like. Maybe you both could ease up? And Tricia, age 11, says, Dear Ms. God, I believe that you are a woman. In fact, I am sure for it, sure. I think that is why the rivers and sky and birds are so beautiful. If by some fluke you are a boy, please do not take it out on me. Boys should not hit girls. From the mouths of babes. So, how does our understanding of God and religion change over the course of our lifespan? In order to understand some aspects of these changes, we can relate some of what we already know about cognitive development to the development of an understanding of God, faith, religion, and spirituality. Various people have developed theories about this. One person is James Fowler, who is mentioned in your book. And another is David Elkin, whom we've already talked about with regard to his ideas about adolescent egocentrism. So I thought we might focus a little bit on David Elkin's ideas. They're similar to those of other people who have talked about religious development throughout the lifespan. You won't find him in your book, but I think you'll find his ideas interesting. So David Elkin and colleagues did this fascinating study where they asked boys and girls between the ages of 5 and 12 questions about prayer. They asked them things like, do you pray? Does your family pray? Do all boys and girls pray? What must you do if your prayer is answered? If it is not, what do you do then? Where do prayers come from? Where do prayers go? These are some of the questions that they asked these children. And what they found was that the understanding of children about God and religion, as reflected in their prayers, seemed to go along 3 stages. In their first stage, which they call global, undifferentiated, which was from the ages of 5 to 7, the understanding that children had of prayers was sort of rudimentary and vague. One child said a prayer is about God, rabbits, dogs, and fairies, and deer, and Santa Claus, and turkey, and pheasants, and Jesus, and Mary, and Mary's little baby. Another child said, a prayer is God bless people who want to say God bless. Now I lay me down to sleep. The second stage they identified, they called the concrete differentiated stage, and this was from about ages 7 to 9. Here, prayer was understood as uttering verbal request, as distinct from expressing a deeper thought or feeling. that would underlie the prayers, which appeared in older children. And then finally, they identified what they call the abstract differentiated stage, starting around the age of 11 to 12. And here, prayer was an external expression of an internal activity. It was, in essence, a conversation with God. Concrete requests were less prevalent, but prayer was more involved in sharing intimacies, a way to communicate with God, which of course would then continue on into adulthood. Fowler's research on religious development in children suggested that, of course, when children are very young, they tend to have a rather concrete understanding of God, like God is an older, grandfatherly looking person with a long beard and flowing robes up in heaven, that kind of thing. But then as children develop further, he said that they begin to have a more sophisticated understanding of God and religion. At first, it tends to be still rather literal, based on their understanding of biblical figures and stories in the Bible. But by the time they become teenagers, their thinking about religion becomes more abstract. And as they build their identities, which is a time, of course, when teenagers are developing core beliefs and values, this is also reflected in their understanding of religion. And as they move into early adulthood, their faith comes to reflect increasingly their beliefs and values. And they come to understand that their views are one of many, and that multiple views of God are possible. Then when they reach Fowler's last stage of faith, which occurs a little bit later on in adulthood, Fowler said that we develop a broader, more inclusive view of religion and of all of humanity, and may work to promote the common good. So I hope that these ideas about religious development in children will give you some things to think about, not only in children, but religious development throughout the lifespan. And if you have the opportunity to observe this process within your own family or with other people you know, it gives you, and also in thinking about where you are in this process, it gives you a framework for thinking about it and reflecting on it. Thank you, and I look forward to talking with you again soon.